So what I wanted to say is the big part of my message is this thing of the vagina waking up. So what we were doing with the awareness of being touched, where I make myself aware to being touched by you, that's something that pulls into the vagina. The awareness, the consciousness moves into the vagina, so that when she's entered by the penis, there is a consciousness and awareness of allowing myself to feel. And almost to, no, not almost, for sure, to touch back. And then she becomes like super orgasmic. You know, the moment her consciousness moves into her and she really like meets the masculine. I suppose the masculine doesn't have to be a penis. You know, it can be a finger or an object that you're being entered with love, clearly. So I don't want to limit it to heterosexual relationships. But it's easy for me to speak penis, vagina.
Yeah. Well, I think what comes up for me a lot is that there seems to be this misconception that the feminine is supposed to be passive and receptive and just like lay back and wait for things to happen. And I think part of that also entails a certain level of numbing out and dissociating from what is happening. And my sense is that particularly in the beginning of connecting intimately, if a lingam or phallus enters the yoni in a hurry before she's ready, then that tendency to dissociate and to clamp down is actually increased.
No, it's either clamp down or numb out,
exactly.
Or just not be present.
And so my preference is to actually almost hover on the threshold and to be present and to feel and to sense and to be available, but to wait, to be summoned and to be desired, and for the yoni to begin reaching out, and for the woman to respond with her whole body in a way that makes it clear that there is real desire and that she's ready and wanting to feel that contact at that point in time.
And then she's gonna really welcome the lingam inside herself and engage with the lingam and actually like touch the lingam back with herself, massage. It's like this dance, but yeah, I agree. If she's entered too quickly, she just numbs out. It's almost like she just needs time to consciously pull her consciousness into herself and to be here and to see and to feel the lingam and engage. And from here, that back and forth dance of both being present. And I feel that for the man to be present in his lingam, then it's easier to feel him. When I'm present in my vagina and the man is present in his lingam, it's like we can both arrive for one another.
Yeah. And there's just so much more pleasure, actually, if one's able to feel. How can you have pleasure if you cannot feel? And I think very often there's this tendency of withdrawing consciousness from the genitals because of the kind of shame and judgment that we feel around that part of ourselves, actually, and that we kind of dissociate from it and pretend that it's not part of who we are. And so there's a kind of a disembodied sexuality, which is probably very unsatisfying and uncomfortable.
Yeah, and sometimes it can even become too spiritual, that's why I say I like bringing the energy down for myself so that it can become very real and physical, and really so that on a physical level I can be present to myself and to my partner. Like really arrive here in a manifested state.
Yes. And there is also a certain sense of, going back to that thing about the feminine often being stereotyped as being receptive and passive. When there is an awakened yoni, there is a sense of that yoni developing desire and almost a kind of a hunger, where the yoni becomes like she devours the lingam. She takes it in with hunger and with appreciation.
Like a wild
pleasure.
thing.
Yes.
Like a beautiful, wild, alive, active thing. Like, I mean, why would the lingam want to enter like a dead cave? And the same for the yoni. Why would you just want to be in this like dead, passive space? But honestly, I promise you, I was a dead, passive, open space for 49 years.
Mm.
I was so surprised when I realized there's life. And that I can be active and present in the vagina, you know, that she's like actively making love. And I always say, like a tango dancer, this tango dancing is like, there's a beautiful feeling of back and forth, of participating, both parties.
Yes. And also an awakened yoni dances with the lingam. She moves expands and contracts and undulates and spirals. There's so much movement and so much freedom in that. And with a sensitive, live lingam, one is able to feel that and appreciate it. And so it's almost as if there it's important to almost turn those stereotypes on their head, so that for the masculine it's sometimes really good to just be really, really still, and to allow the feminine, allow the yoni to do the movement, and to allow oneself to just sense and feel and remain still until that dance becomes much more spontaneous and free and open. And it's a constant unfolding rather than a clear division of roles of the one lying back and receiving and the masculine pounding away like a battering ram trying to enter a castle. There's unfortunately those kinds of that kind of stereotype and image is a lot of what defines how people see themselves in their identities. The masculine is very often in the role of the knight or the soldier,
having to penetrate this space,
and conquering with violence and force. And the feminine often locked away in a high tower, trying to protect herself from the marauding raiders entering.
She's not brave enough to come down and meet the night. And for that, this like stillness is needed. And I think it is also important to say that there's like two parts. The stillness is really good for the meeting. You know, it is like that tango where you just like meet one another and feel. And bring your consciousness and your awareness, and then slowly start moving. And then there is space for the wildness.
Absolutely.
And like the pounding and the wildness and the energy, but not immediately. You know, you need to go there together.
Yes.
You need to first meet each other. And for me as a woman, that stillness just allows me to drop my consciousness into my vagina and to start communicating with her and saying to her, okay, what are you feeling? Can you feel your pleasure? And then I also ask her, can you feel the lingam? Where is the lingam? Where is the penis? Can you feel him? Can you touch the penis? Oh my God. And she starts feeling so powerful when she touches the penis back. Love, knowing that the man is present. And his penis, like touching the man. With your vagina onto the penis. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Meeting there.
Well, there's also something that happens there at the subtle energy level. One of the kind of principles of working with subtle energy is that wherever our consciousness goes, wherever our awareness is, then the subtle energy will follow and manifest in that area. And when this life force energy moves strongly, it becomes very pleasurable and very orgasmic. And so when a woman is really deeply aware and free in her vagina, in her yoni, then also her subtle energy will move there. Her Shakti will be much more present there and connecting to the rest of the body. And likewise for a man, when he is really aware in his lingam and he brings his consciousness into it, then the Shakti, his chi energy will move there as well. And when that is the case with both man and woman, or even if it's not a heterosexual situation, there is a resonance and a transmission which happens then, where the energy systems of the lovers begin interweaving and begin stimulating each other and amping each other up, bringing a different kind of bliss and a different kind of pleasure into the space, which is quite transcendent and goes beyond just the physical, and also is in a realm that is non-conceptual. There's no words for it, and that's where the spontaneity and the playfulness really starts happening in a beautiful way.
Yeah, it's like surrendering to something much bigger than yourself. It's not just your own energy. So putting it together with another person, it's just like it's really something one can surrender to then.
It becomes a powerful feedback loop which activates and brings aliveness and joy and a kind of a weird peace and stillness as well, because the conceptual mind is shut down.
It is, yeah. It's moving out of the mind, and I find in the beginning, just on a practical level, you just have to use your imagination, really. So consciousness sounds like such a fancy word, but consciousness is just awareness. It's just using your imagination to say, hey, I'm going to speak to my vagina. and then immediately your awareness is just there. It's not such a fancy thing, really.
No. And it's also got to do with breath. We bring awareness of our breath into the game, and we breathe into our pleasure and into our lingam or yoni. And when the breath and the awareness move together and the voice comes to join it, then things start getting really, really beautiful and playful and spontaneous.
Yeah, because then your whole body gets involved. So with the breath, for me, I often don't focus on the breath, because then I go into my mind and I start thinking, what is the breath supposed to be doing? So for myself, I just keep my focus on the pleasure, and then the breath automatically goes there. But I think it's different for different people. For some people, it's good to go into that meditation and it actually drops them out of their head and say, I'll just feel my body with this breath. It's a nice way to feel your partner as well. It's very...